All right, taping this a little after 4 o'clock on Thursday. Joe House is here. There's some NBA games tonight, and then we head into a quick All-Star break. And it seemed like a nice time to look at the MVP race as we hit the halfway point. The reason House is on, other than we haven't seen him in a while, and we love talking basketball with him, House has somehow managed to bet on every single MVP candidate. I don't know how you did it, House. I think you lose the money no matter who wins, but you could say you had the winner. Congratulations.
No, that's not true. I have a question for you before we get going.
Yeah.
What do you think the over-under on vodka soda lemonades that I had this afternoon was?
Wait a second. This is Drunk House?
Nah,
Drunk House is here?
I'm not. It's Buzz House. I'm not
Buzz
all the way,
House.
because I had to drive myself home, but it is getting warm here out on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And, golf season, you can officially start entering scores on March the 15th. So I'm revving up. And I was out on the golf course. If if I'm out with a couple buddies, gotta have a drink.
I loved how you told me you had to start late because you had some work stuff, and you did have some work stuff. It was just on a golf course with some vodka tonics.
It really was work. I hosted some lawyer guys that I need some business out of. I mean, that's how we do the business, brother.
All right, so let's go backwards. Who don't you have for MVP? All right, let's just go through it. You have Embiid.
I have Embiid.
You have LeBron.
I have LeBron.
Do you have Luka?
I do not have Luka. I'm out on Luka. I was out. I didn't like the price at the beginning of the season. I don't like the price now. Maybe you have to twist my arm. If they reel off, if they go 18 over the next 20 games, if they go on a crazy winning streak, maybe I'll countenance it, but I'm not on Luka right now.
Jokic, yes, you have some Jokic, right?
I have a taste. I don't think I have any Jokic, honestly. I don't think.
Do you have Dame or Curry?
No, neither one of those.
You do have Durant, who is out of the race.
I bet Durant twice. Once before the season started, and then once in the first 2 weeks of the season, just because the price was great before the season started, and then he came out and started playing great, and I felt like, I should just go ahead and that neither one of those bets were big bets. It was just the odds were in the 12 to 14 to 1 range. So go ahead and grab him.
And you have LeBron, who we mentioned. Here are the odds right now.
I have Anthony Davis. That's the other one that I have.
I forgot. We had a whole Anthony Davis case about
that was before the season. That was like a LeBron hedge, just to put that in place. Because one of those two guys is going to be in the conversation. We talked this through before the season started. I don't regret doing a little Anthony Davis.
Here's where we stand now. Odds courtesy of FanDuel. Joel Embiid is our favorite at plus 210. LeBron trails him at plus 260. Jokic plus 420. Curry 12 to 1. Giannis 18 to 1. James Harden 18 to 1. Luka Doncic 18 to 1. Dame and Kawhi are both 21 to 1. And the only other mildly interesting one is Donovan Mitchell at 65 to 1, but the Jazz went a little tailspin the last week. All right, House, here we go.
I have a question for you before you get started, though.
Yeah.
I want to know, is there any Phoenix player on that list? I'm interested in, I want one Phoenix player.
Devin Booker, 85 to 1.
Okay. So that's worth $50.
No, it's really not. Please don't do that. Just set the $50 on fire. Devin Booker's now, he didn't make the All-Star team.
What if Phoenix ends up with the best record in the West?
No, they're not. That's not happening either. Stop.
All right. Why isn't that happening?
It's not. They're not. A Phoenix Sun is not winning the MVP. Booker would have to score 35 a game the second half of the year. Here's who's going to win the MVP if he stays healthy: Joel Embiid.
Okay.
He once again on a huge stage, a really fun league pass battle on Wednesday night, Utah and Philly. He hit a game-tying three. That was a high degree of difficulty game-tying three. He was awesome. What did he end up with? Like 40-plus points, 19
40
rebounds?
40 and 19.
So for the season, he's 30, 12, 3 assists, 30 and 12, basically. 52, 42, 86 shooting splits. Like kind of closer to the 50, 40, 90 club than I was prepared for. 11.6 free throw attempts a game. He's averaging only three-point field goals, which I know that was an issue for you. So he's kept that down. It only takes 3 a game. 31.2 PER. I'm going to tell you this, House. Here's the complete list of centers NBA history who have gone for 29 and 12 and shot 10 plus free throw attempts in a game. Will Chamberlain 7 times, Shaq twice, Moses Malone once. That's our entire list of centers who have done this, which leads me to my big point. This is like a vintage Shaq season now for Embiid. Statistically, impact-wise, he's having these overpowering nights like that night against Chicago where he just completely destroyed them. The difference between him and Shaq is that you can actually go to him in the last 2 minutes of a game. He can actually create a shot, get to the free throw line. He's a good free throw shooter. Or in the case with Utah last night, they're down 3 with 10 seconds left. He dribbles out the 3-point line, double pumps, and makes a 3 with a hand in his face, which raises the point. Who's a better person to shoot an end of the game down 3 than Embiid? Because 7'3", you can't block it. You might foul him. I've seen everything I've needed to see so far from him. The only thing would be the games. He's played 30 out of 36. But other than that, to me, he is hands down the MVP. It's not an argument.
So you and I are in violent agreement, but I want to have one quick quibble, one quick point of disagreement, which is let's not use Joel Embiid's name in the same breath as Shaq. Let's not do that yet. Yet. I'm saying yet. Okay.
Okay. So here's the case why we can't do that, because Shaq for 3 straight playoffs annihilated everybody, won 3 straight finals MVPs, and when the real money was on the line, took it to another level and became like a 35 and 15 type guy. We have no idea if Embiid can do that yet. I'm saying regular season Embiid has reached regular season Shaq potential.
We have 30 games, finally, 30 games of the potential of Joel Embiid. Like a really great run. We finally scratched the surface of what this dude can be about. We've been begging for it. You, me, Russillo, everybody across the whole Ringer board.
Every Philly fan.
Every Philly fan. We've been begging for it. For Christ's sakes, get this guy the ball in places where he can do some work. Don't let him settle for the easy, lazy shot. Let's get to the free throw line, and by God, that's the thing. That's the stat to me that is the most compelling, the real thing that distinguishes him, the real thing that puts him in position as the front runner of the MVP. It's getting to the free throw line the way a guy with his tools and his advantages should. It's what we've been begging for, and he's doing it, and it's great to see, and I love it.
He's played 30 games. He's been to the free throw line 348 times.
Awesome.
And Shaq was like around 10 and up free throw attempts every year. And then he spiked because Hack-a-Shaq started and he was in the 13-14 range. The difference between him and Shaq is he's a much better free throw shooter.
Good free throw shooter.
He's in the mid-80s. Shaq was in the mid-50s. So when you foul him, especially at the end of games, and it's a little like Zion's not as good of a free throw shooter, but same thing, because Zion at the end of these games is figuring out just throw my body, be athletic, throw my body into people, I'll get a call. Embiid's getting these calls. He's actually getting superstar respect, it feels like. And Utah had a little hissy fit on Wednesday night about it. And it happened against the Celtics earlier in the year, too, where he's getting like touch foul calls. And he's 7'3", and it's like, all right, if you're going to call him that way, let's just hand him the title. They're not going to be able to guard him.
But I don't really have any argument with that. I mean, that is the big guy prerogative. This is like, he has a skill set that distinguishes him from everybody else. When he asserts his will, when he's down in that low post, he's getting hit. There's no question that he's getting hit. Shaq had this prerogative. Shaq, they could have called another 25% of the times that Shaq was in the low post, he definitely got fouled and they didn't call it. So, this is, and in the era that we are in, where, it's spread 5 and motion kind of offense, seeing a giant guy with the ball in the low post or near the basket, it sets it up as an easy call for the refs. And this, there's been a lot of complaining about the refs through this first portion of the season.
All deserved.
Yeah, sure. But Embiid makes it easy. He gets the ball and he gets hit and he's down low. That's not a hard, foul call to make. The refs don't have a hard decision there. It's not a giant judgment call. And the Sixers do outpace their opponents night in and night out and get to the free throw line. That's a good strategy. Doc is a good coach. Daryl Morey is a good GM. They're smart, and he's doing the right thing.
Well, he has more spacing, too. I really like their crunch time 5, and sometimes it'll change. Sometimes Thibault will be in there, but when it's Curry and Simmons and Embiid and Tobias Harris, who's been really terrific this year, and then they either put a shooter in the 5th spot or they'll play Thibault if they really need offense. But just having Curry out there, sometimes Shake Milton, too, if he's feeling it, whatever, but it just seems like Embiid has more space. And look, we don't have to pile on Brett Brown for 7 hours, but the reality is Embiid last year, in the bubble, in that Celtics playoff series, for the amount of talent he has, it was an embarrassment. And he was for what his talent was, it was a bummer that it felt like we left last season going, he might not get there. He has the talent, but he can't seem to figure out, get in shape, get to the free throw line, stop dallying 25 feet from the basket, overpower people. I feel like he's overpowering people and comparing him at least to regular season Shaq. Look, they had to literally change rules for Shaq. I don't think Embiid is at that point. They changed basketball rules to try to make it easier for teams to defend Shaq. We're not at that point yet, right?
No, and we got 30 games out of Embiid. But
there's the overpowering piece.
Yes,
reminds me of Shaq, and to be honest, wasn't sure I was going to see it again with a center in our lifetime. It felt like Shaq took this. It felt like Shaq took the center position with him when he kind of faded into whatever he became in Phoenix and Cleveland, and it was just never going to be that position again.
Well, this is what's going to be fascinating about the career trajectory of Giannis, of the Freak. What if the Freak decides that the most efficient way for him to be an incredible basketball player, he's already incredible, but what if he wants to get to the free throw line 14 or 15 times a game
and be around the basket?
Yes, exactly right. That's a fascinating thing for us to keep an eye on as his career develops. So I do have a quick question for you. Do you have any appetite for some Utah slander tonight? You have any interest or desire in any Utah slander?
No, I think they are what they are. I think every year there's a Rabbit team and we get excited about them. But you saw it in that Philly-Utah game. There's a lot of times in these last 3-4 minutes where they're just not going to have the best player in the court. And, there's 10 teams that they could play where they're just not going to have the best guy in the game. So that's a hard one to overcome.
I don't want to make Jazz fans mad at me. But
please don't. They're vicious. They're like those little dogs that it's like, oh, no, don't pet the dog. Don't pet the dog. He's really friendly, but just don't pet them.
I mean, the Gobert Defensive Player of the Year thing. Like everybody in social media, amongst our friend crew, everybody in the sporting public is like, look what Embiid just did to Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I'm just over it. Like, can we just stop with Gobert as the Defensive Player of the Year? Like
for me, it's Ben Simmons. I think he's done the most interesting stuff night to night on the defensive end.
I understand the analytics and the support for Gobert year over year, the impacts that he has in the regular season. I just can't get my mind around the idea of a guy who gets a league award, defensive player, the best defensive player in the entire league, and he can't play against certain teams. He flat out can't play against the Houston Rockets in the previous iterations.
Yeah.
And Utah has
Phoenix
has made
not Phoenix. The Clippers did that.
Yeah,
they
made it to the
played
second round twice in the last handful of years. Like, it's just a tough one. I'll leave it at that.
Simmons is my Defensive Player of the Year so far.
Well, did you see what he did against Mitchell last night? I mean,
I was very aware of it. You mean when Donovan Mitchell went 12 for 34 and took horrible shots down the stretch because he had a 6'10" maniac guarding him?
That's right.
So the Embiid thing, I think it's such a thrilling development. And, it's been this weird season, all these COVID things. We had 2 huge trades. There's been a lot to keep track of. But Embiid blossoming into this dude when, we sit on these podcasts or in these studio shows and we talk about, if this guy only did this, if this guy only did that. This is the guy. I remember going to that workout in LA in 2014 for the draft. And coming out of it going, this guy has to be the first pick. I can't believe what I just saw. This guy's an incredible athlete. He could shoot threes. His footwork was amazing. He had awesome hands. Like, how is this guy not the number one pick? And then he got hurt. And then it seemed like the rub with him was always going to be can't stay on the court, or if he does stay on the court, doesn't seem to get the whole concept of I need to be able to play all 4 quarters. I just feel like he gets it. And then there's this wow factor with him in some of these games where you're just like, wow. That 3 he hit last night against Utah, that was like, wow. I can't think of a single center in the history of the league who hits that shot.
In the history of the league. I mean, come on. But
who?
I mean, well,
Hakeem? Maybe Hakeem?
What do we call it? Dirk Nowitzki was never a center. He was a power forward. So.
Yeah, he's a power forward. I'm saying a guy, a 7'3" guy dribbling backwards, knowing he needs to get off a 3. 2 guys draped all over him, and it was fucking money.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
That's it. That's what you want on your MVP resume is a wow moment, a wow shot. He gave it to us right at the midpoint of the season, set us up perfectly for this conversation.
Well, he said it a few times because there was a Boston game. He ripped them apart. That Bulls game on a Friday night on ESPN. He's had a couple like big spotlight games.
Yes. Well, it's exactly what we want. And, I'm knocking on wood loudly. Stay healthy. If he gets to what's the minimum number of games that we feel comfortable with him getting to give him the MVP?
Great question. 72 game season might be 71 in a couple cases. Who knows? And so this is the Harden question, right? Harden's only played 23 games. His stats are great. He's switched teams. He's played 23 and 37 games. I think you have to be in the high 50s to realistically be considered.
High 50s. That's pretty generous. Can't do what he did to Houston and win the MVP. But
well, he it's
50s.
All fine. He came back yesterday, he waved at everybody, so all is forgiven.
Great. They're going to put his jersey in the Raptors. It should have a knife in the back.
Shaq's best season, or Shaq's MVP season, 2000. He was 30-14, 57% field goal, 54% free throw, 3.0 blocks a game. We didn't even mention Embiid's defense. I mean, he's one of the 4 or 5 most important defensive players we have too.
Finally.
And somehow we talked about it for 15 minutes, didn't mention that. Shaq got to the line, 10.4 free throw attempts a game that year, 30.6 PR, and Embiid's 31.2 PR. My point is, look, they're different players and they're playing in different eras, but the stats are similar and the impact feels similar. And I'm really psyched. I'm psyched for the Philly fans. I have a lot of Philly fans in my life that I have a love-hate relationship, but this was this frustrating guy that you felt like he had been handed the keys to the kingdom and he didn't totally take care of it, and he had some bad luck too. Now it seems like he's taking care of it. So we'll see where it goes.
I have a question for you. Are you 100% comfortable at this stage, halfway through the season, with basically dismissing Giannis? We mentioned a bunch of other names. We haven't talked about the freak.
I want to get to that right now. I think there's there's 3.5 other people who can win the MVP.
Okay.
One is Jokic, 27, 11, and 9. He's a borderline. I mean, 57% shooting, 42% from 3, 89% free throw. He's a borderline 50, 40, 90 guy. So he's basically Dirk, Larry level.
How many games can Denver win? How many games does Denver have to win to take him seriously? That's the thing that's giving me trouble.
Denver's a 7 seed. They're 20-15. And I forgot to mention earlier with Embiid, they're the 1 seed in the East. They're 24-12. He's the biggest reason why, and that's why he's the MVP candidate.
No brainer.
Denver, the thing with Jokic, it's not going to happen if they're not one of the top 4 seeds. It's conceivable they could be. But he's got a 32.1 PER. And again, flawed metric. I still like it. And when you look at the league leaders of all time in PR, it's all the best players in the history of basketball. So to be over 31, on top of all the other stuff, he's almost averaging a triple-double. And he's been betrayed by his team. They have no bench. They lost Grant and Beasley from last year's group. They traded Beasley before the bubble. But 2 guys that could come in and, off the bench and do some stuff. Their bench feels really weak. The Porter thing seems to go up and down. Murray, I know he's had, a couple issues. And look, it's a weird season. They played right up until the bitter end of the bubble last year. All of a sudden, they're playing again. But Murray's been disappointing for where we thought he was going to be. And it does feel like Jokic is kind of carrying them to a 20-15.
Yeah, they're right now on pace in a normal 82-game season for around 47 wins. 46,
which is not
47.
That's not doing it. Yeah.
The only guy in recent memory that did that was Russell Westbrook. 46 wins for Oklahoma City in the year that he averaged
the
triple-double.
darkest moment in recent MVP history.
You know how I feel about it.
So then Giannis, who everyone has decided we can't vote for him, he can't win 3 in a row. We're just not going to let it happen. He's still averaging 29 and 12 with 6 assists, shooting 56%. He's getting the free throw line 10.4 times, 29.1 PER, and his team right now is the 3 seed. They're 21 and 14. He's heated up the last 2 weeks, and there's a world in which he just gets hot for 3 weeks. All of a sudden, they're a 1 seed, and we're like, wait a second, what are we going to do here?
Well, in their last 17 games, he's over 31 points. He's 12 and a half rebounds. He's over 6 assists. He's almost 1.5 steals, and he's almost 2 blocks. That's fucking insane. Those are MVP numbers. And he did, basically drag Milwaukee up to the 3 seed because they were the Holiday injury really messed with them. They really were not. Now they're 5-5 over their last 10 games, but they need him to be superhuman to drag them up into that top tier where they honestly belong. I mean, they still differential wise, they're the top team in the East at plus 6.4.
Well, plus they're averaging 119 a game. They're the highest scoring team in the league.
Yeah.
He's 18 to 1 to win the MVP. And I think he's either
I might have to throw something at that.
Well, he's either second or third right now. And we're going to get to the LeBron media mafia in a second. Though, I'm just saying, if we're just looking at this objectively, when you throw in his defense and everything he does, he is the second best player in the league right now.
I agree with you.
And I have Jokic third, and then LeBron's fourth. And the irony with the LeBron season, he's 26, 8, and 8, which is right around where he always is. Statistically, with the advanced metric stuff, it's kind of his weakest advanced metric season that he's had really since his rookie year. His PR is only 24.4, but just in general, like shooting 51%, 36% from 3, 69% free throw, not getting the line even 6 times a game. He's taken almost 7 threes. And the case for him is the durability. He's played 36 to 37. They finally rested him the other day. And, he could reclaim at least the number 2 spot in a week if he had 3 straight good games. My question is, why? Why all he cares about is titles. He's got to get to the Jordan 6. Why would he care about these last 36 games?
Well, he cares because
no, but I mean, like, care enough to make like a real MVP run and to actually put the work in to try to win the MVP.
Isn't the answer to that question the body of evidence of the previous 35 games? Why is he playing all those minutes in the first half of this stupid season? He just played in the finals. The only obvious answer to me, and I don't know if it's obvious, but is he has designs on this MVP award. Like, it doesn't otherwise make sense for him to put on this additional mileage. We've been talking forever, and God, this is the thing that makes him so gosh darn incredible, is that durability, the endurance, his able to bring, he's just, so it would be in a season where there are a lot of different candidates. If the Lakers reascend to the top of the West,
which they could easily,
and Davis comes back, then it's like, it's a split vote kind of situation, and you give it to the OG because the OG averaged 35 or 36 minutes across 65 of the 72 games or whatever it is. And, the Lakers have the best record in the NBA or what, close to it. And you just say, all hail the king. That's the argument, right?
Well, the issue for him is it's not a split vote season. It's okay. Embiid has taken control. So for the path for him to win the MVP is Embiid ends up playing 55 of 72 games. Like, just doesn't have enough games. The Lakers do better second half. LeBron stays healthy. LeBron plays 70 of 72 games. Right now, the league leaders in minutes, Randall at 13-16, Jokic 12-56, Van Vliet 12-49, and LeBron is fourth at 12-45. I think that's insane. I
That's
honestly don't know what
incredible.
they're doing. But I think he really wanted to win the MVP, which is why he was doing this. But at some point, the ring has to matter more than him playing all these minutes. He shouldn't play 2,500 minutes.
I don't disagree with you, but what if he can do both? He keeps on keeping on. The thing that has hurt is Davis went out and they went on into a mini tailspin, and they don't.
Right.
They didn't look good in those games. I mean, I watched the entirety of that Wizards Lakers game where the Wizards beat the Lakers in overtime, and
I'm sorry.
It was reminiscent of the Lakers of like 18 to 24 months ago, where they don't have any offensive firepower. They just can't score unless he goes out and creates it. And that was lackluster.
It's tough. I mean, Davis is,
I know,
like the 7th best player in the league, the 8th best player in the league. So
yeah. But I mean, we're going to give the MVP to a guy who can't. They lost four in a row or whatever it was.
We're not. The best thing he has going for him is the LeBron media mafia will come out probably with about 15, 16 games left. And there will be a whole campaign about he's the best player every year. He deserves this. We've got to make up for past sins. Russillo and I broke this down. There are no past sins. The only one you can really complain about is the 2011 one, his first year in Miami, that one might have been a robbery. It was 10 years ago. Okay. None of the other ones were robberies. And the way Embiid is playing, he's going to win. And honestly, Giannis is having a better season than LeBron. We may not want to admit that. We may not want to like it, but it's a fact. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean he's a better basketball player. It means he's having a slightly better regular season than LeBron James is, period.
Different things that we're talking about, entirely different cases to make.
So those are your four. It's Embiid, and then it's a Jokic, Giannis, LeBron kind of lurking underneath. But what's interesting is the odds do not reflect that. Embiid's plus 210, LeBron is plus 260 because they're already factoring in the mafia. Nikola Jokic plus 420, and then Giannis is 18-1. And the Giannis thing, that honestly, those odds are ridiculous. They should be lower.
Yeah.
So then we go to the next group. I think the sleeper would be Luka, who's averaging 29, 8, 9. He's got his threes up to 36%. That team's starting to win. And he just, every year coming out of the All-Star break, somebody averages like 35. Like last year was Bradley Beal, your guy.
Yeah.
Somebody all of a sudden puts up 35.3 points a game and just goes nuts. I would say he's the most logical candidate to do that. So let's mark him down. Kawhi, at having a really good Kawhi season, 27, 6, and 5. Honestly, his stats really aren't any different than LeBron's. And he's a better defensive player. But just if the Clippers, if there's a path for them, right now they're a 4 seed, but they're only 2 games out of the 2 spot. But I just wanted to mention him. You have Dame and Curry, who I almost feel like cancel each other out. Yeah. But they're basically having the exact same season. I think Dame's done it with a little less help. And then the Harden thing, he's missed 14. If he played every game the rest of the way and averaged a triple-double and Brooklyn won the East, we'd at least have to have the conversation, which would end with both of us going, no, fuck that guy. We're not voting for him.
You can have that conversation with somebody else, not with me. I'm out. I'm out right now, and I'm not changing my mind.
So that's it, House. Those are our candidates. My advice, and I'm not allowed to bet on this, but I think Embiid still being a plus favorite,
so that's
as a
where
plus
I'm at.
210 seems stupid to me. He should be like minus 180.
I got him early in the season at 20-1 odds.
Wow.
And I didn't go crazy on it, but now I'm going to go crazy on it. I'm going to throw a giant number on top of that 20-1 thing because I went big on LeBron when LeBron was still plus numbers 2 weeks ago.
So you'd have the top 2 covered.
That's it. I mean, and I'm not going to bet on something's good. Dramatic will have to happen with Denver to get me to touch Jokic. I'm not messing with Luka or Dallas. I mean, they're just. You
sure you don't want to consider the Giannis 18-1? Because the path to that would be Holiday comes back and all of a sudden Milwaukee wins 15 straight.
But will the voting public this is a question to you. You're in the voting public. Will the voting public get around the idea of 3 straight Giannis years? Because the thing that holds him back, and this is absurd, and I know that this drives the analytics folks absolutely insane, is we are factoring in what we've seen, what our eyes have seen of the Greek Freak in the playoffs and Milwaukee in the playoffs, even though it's not a playoff award. But when do we see the leap out of Milwaukee in the playoffs that convinces us that we're not being dumbasses by making 3 straight MVP awards for a team that can't get to the finals?
I'm going to make 3 predictions for the rest of the way here because MVP conversations are like podcast catnip. Prediction number 1, Milwaukee will have a winning streak, followed by everyone having a reckoning about whether it would be okay to vote Giannis for a 3rd straight year. And most people decided, no, I can't do it. Followed by a round of voter shaming from the people who are like, hey, the resume is the resume. Last year doesn't matter. It's who had the bet. And there will be some Giannis voter shaming. I predict that. We'll be hearing from the LeBron media mafia.
Yes.
I can't wait to find out what they have in store for them. It'll probably start with a really long feature for somebody about how LeBron has given more to this season than any in the history of his career.
I can't
and the
wait
minutes.
When do we get to name names? I need to be drunk so we can start naming names about.
Yeah, your drunk house better name some names. And how he can't believe he hasn't won the MVP for 8 years when he's been the league's signature player, and it makes you wonder. And he'll have a couple quotes. I can't wait for that. That's going to be amazing. That's prediction number 2. Prediction number 3 will be, I think James Harden is going to continue to be absolutely awesome for Brooklyn. And at some point, we're going to have a reckoning with that. And that will be another 3-day conversation where we have to go, wait a second, can a guy who took a shit and forced his way out of a city to get to a better situation, can we then give that person the MVP for what he did for the team that he forced himself to? My answer is no.
Won't that resolve itself when KD comes back? I've been believing that KD could have played any one of these last, honestly, like 4 games. They've been deliberate and measured in keeping him out because, like, who cares whether or not they win any of these last 4 games? They've been on a great roll. The chemistry between Harden and Kyrie is really coming together.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought those 2 guys would play well together? I got to say, I'm shocked by that.
Well, look, Harden and Chris Paul played great together for a little while also.
They were unhappy, though. Like, Chris Paul was never happy with it.
Ultimately, they were. But for a while, there was a good symbiosis that did work. And the KD not playing lets all these role guys come to the fore. The Bruce Brown thing is fucking incredible for Brooklyn, and that's
he was my 10th candidate. I forgot to mention Bruce Brown. Are Bruce Brown's odds on this? Is he the best role player of all time?
KD not playing means there are more minutes to spread around, and that's very helpful for Brooklyn, their ambition. So whenever KD comes back, it will, I think, diminish Harden's case, and we won't have to be talking about Harden for MVP. I don't think any of the Nets are going to be candidates for the MVP, even though they might end up with the best record in the whole NBA.
KD, Harden, Kyrie, Joe Harris, and Bruce Brown might be the greatest 5 of all time.
I love it when you do that shit.
Bruce Brown is my favorite new player my new guy he's not new, obviously, but guy who's now in the mix.
You put him ahead of Pritchard? Your boy Pritchard up there in Boston? You have Bruce Brown ahead?
It's like when they had the Best Newcomer Award and like the MTV Movie Awards.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the Best Newcomer in the AVN Awards. That's
or either that. Maybe the AVN Awards as well. Yeah. Bruce Brown, it's like, he made a couple movies before this year, but what an emergence by Bruce Brown.
Who knew he had that magic cock?
Bruce Brown, he plays like they're telling him, if you guys don't win this game, we're murdering your family after the game. So it's up to you. You can decide whether we murder your family or not. That's like the level of intensity.
He's like the Los Entente Kawupo brother. All those Entente Kawupos play like their life depends on it. It's awesome. I love it.
I love Bruce Brown. All right, so he's number 10.